Hey everybody, and welcome to Mediocre Gamers, where we discuss all things gaming. I'm Caleb, and I'm joined today by my co-host Crimson.
What's up?
Now, this is going to be a little bit of a different episode because we're going to be talking about some new stuff, like pre-releasing the new Dominaria set for Magic the Gathering, which is kind of new for us because I haven't done a pre-release in over a decade. Now, Crimson, when was the last pre-release you did?
The last one I did was Ixalan. The first
Okay,
one
so
I did was Tempest at WotC headquarters.
Damn!
Yeah, it was a while ago. I remember the pre-release card was the flying XX card that had power and toughness equal to the number of cards in your graveyard, or creatures in your graveyard.
Nice! Kicking it old school right there.
Yeah, they reprinted it as an uncommon.
Wow. I think the one and only pre-release that I ever did was for, I think it was Ravnica. It may have been Guild Pact or Dissension, though. Actually, yes, I think it was actually Dissension. Because I remember getting a promo and it had the little star icon.
Oh, nice.
But I remember, I think it was Mormor Vig, I think was my promo. Good old green blue. But yeah, so it's been a while for me, and this is a very interesting set because it's kind of everything we wanted to see again. It's got a lot of really cool stuff. So we all got to play in pre-releases this past weekend. That is me, Crimson, and RJ. And while RJ could not join us this week, I do have some thoughts from him to talk about after a while.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so it was a very fun weekend. And me and RJ got to play in the singles event together. And unfortunately, I could not talk him into playing in Two-Headed Giant. I tried so hard.
He would have enjoyed that too.
Oh, he wanted to so bad, but I that was my present to him for his birthday, was to pay his way into the singles release so that we could play together and have fun. We sat together the whole time. We made our opponents come to us like a bunch of privileged little shits. It was great. It felt like magic. But it was a lot of fun. And I cracked some great stuff for Limited. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Crimson, what did you do? What kind of events did you do? I did a singles and a Two-Headed Giant. My partner was Dakota, and we'll talk about that in a bit. What kind of events did you do? How'd you do?
I did singles because, well, I don't know anybody up here that I care to know. I went 4-1 and 3-1, so top 8, top 4. Had a great time. Pulled a Jess Vass or whatever her brother's name is.
Joseph.
Yeah, pulled the
nice
the bird dude that reanimates stuff. I mean, just had some good pre-release cards, and I had a blast. Unfortunately, I didn't make the Friday tournament because I fell asleep because I'm old and crap. Yep. And it happens when you're old and crap is you don't stay up till midnight.
Pretty much.
Then I kind of got messed over on a third event. You know, I had messaged the card shop. The card shop had saw my message. They never replied, so I figured it was good. Went there and they're like, "Oh, we're out of spots." Well, wonderful.
Yeah, that was after you dropped the other tournament.
Yeah.
You basically had paid for one and reserved for the other.
Yep.
And you grabbed your pre-release kit and dropped. I remember when you sent me the message and told me about what happened, and then you showed me cracked in the drop from, and it was just, you would have won.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you would have at least got a ton of packs.
Yeah. So, but it happens. That's life. Whatever.
I ended up doing pretty well in the singles event. I did way better than I thought. I was undefeated. Now, that was not a win, but what happened is I crushed my first two opponents. and I felt bad about the first one. He was a really nice guy. He was a guy. He was very caught up with lawyering himself. I think he plays either standard or something like that, where he has to deal with people, constantly on his ass about everything. So it was nice to have the interaction of he forgot to untap his Mesa unicorn during his untap step, and he's like, "Ah, shit, I forgot to untap it, so whatever." So he kept it tapped, and I'm like, "Why is that tapped?" He goes, "Because I missed it on my untap step." And I'm like, "Untap it." And he's like, "Are you sure?" Like, yeah. And me and you talked about it earlier, and it was just like, first off, your untap step is not optional.
Right. It's not a may.
And more than likely, the judge is going to be like, untap it. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so it was saddening because this guy, who was a really nice old gentleman, felt like that was a big deal. And I'm like, untap the damn unicorn. And then I killed it. So I felt like an asshole for doing it, but
yeah,
I had two reasons to want him to untap it. I wanted him to untap it because, he missed it. He shouldn't be punished for that. Right. Secondly, I wanted him to attack with it so I could kill it.
Yeah, and sealed pre-release is a casual format. It's on Wizards' website about being it's a casual format. It is not ran judgy. It is meant for people to get to know the new cards and for new players to come in. It is not a Pro Tour qualifier.
And it is good that it is a casual format and is treated as such because, like you just said, people are trying to learn the cards. And if you've got one person or a handful in a 32-player event, whether it's, how many there are to a pod or not, but when you have a few people who know every card like the back of their hand because they have it scribbled on the inside of their fucking eyelids.
Like me.
Like you and me. That Literally. You get to the point where you're like, I get to fuck people over because of their ignorance, because they don't know what these cards do.
No, I just had my eyes glued to freaking spoiler list.
Yep, that and to Raph's crotch, and to Fairy. Like, oh my god,
Fairy's broken.
So broken. But it was fun. Me and him actually had a really fun time. I did beat him 2-0, but we actually walked away with it. He congratulated me. I told him how good he did it in the game. And we parted ways in a really good way because he not only tracked me down later in the event twice to ask how I was doing, hey, what's your record? How'd the last round like that? But when we signed up for Two-Headed Giant, he actually asked me, he goes, hey, are you signing up for Giant? I was like, yeah. I was like, how about you? And he's like, yeah, definitely. And I was like, well, maybe we'll see each other across the table again. He goes, God, I hope not.
Jesus.
I'm like, I understand, man. I understand.
I'll have different cards.
Maybe, but the corrosive ooze was what that nice. And we'll discuss our top picks and stuff later. Those both made my list. But the second game I played against a kid who, and I say kid, he's probably in his 20s. Who I thought was actually a fairly decent guy, and then after the living shit out of him, and I want to really emphasize this, I beat his ass. I whipped his ass. Okay, I feel better now. He decided to say a gay slur, referencing one of the cards that I used to beat him, and the problem was, it wasn't that he was mad, and that actually upset me more.
He just didn't know better.
Well, he literally said it in such a way that it was free of all hatred, all rage, all anger whatsoever. It was just, he said it so casually,
yeah,
that it was worse.
Yeah.
It was so much worse that he would say a word like that so casually. And so I was done with him. Like, me and him had a fun match. The second game I really fucked him over, and it was beautiful. I played Phyrexian Scriptures. He didn't read it. So I made my corrosive ooze. God love the ooze. An artifact, got a +1/+1 counter on it, and then I had a Drudge Skeleton, which is the pay 3 and tap it to make it indestructible for the turn. He swung out with Joyra and some other stuff. He ended up pulling a Joyra and a Weatherlight. And I'm like, ugh. So he had Joyra out. The Weatherlight was not in this game. He pulled it on the first game, but he swings out. I block the Joyra with my skeleton because otherwise I was going to get dropped to 4, and then I'm not in bolt range, but if he has 2 bolts, I'm dead, or any of the other burn. So I block that, and I'm like, all right. And then he floods the board. He goes down to 1 card in hand. And I'm like, I literally look at him and I'm like, is he really doing this? Okay. Untap, draw, wipe your board.
Don't make your opponent not do bad moves.
Yep. And I was like, I was thinking about being like, are you sure you want to do that? But I was like, no, I'm not gonna. He was a little douchey, not big time, but I could tell he was kind of a dick a little bit. But we still had fun in our matches, and he gave me a run in both games. But I'm like, wipe your board, and he goes, what? And he looked at me like I was speaking a different language. Like, I literally, like, my head spun around like I was possessed, and I was just screaming at him in tongues. Like, he just looked like he just saw a tear in the space-time continuum. And I'm like, wipe your board. And he goes, with what? Phyrexian Scriptures? And he goes, what does this thing do? And he flips it around, and he just sits there and reads it for a second, and I just see all of his muscles and just kind of release in shame. And he just goes, fuck. And I'm like, wipe your board. So he now has 1 card in hand. I have a 3/3 ooze and nothing else. Like, I've got nothing. I'm still drawing stuff, but I'm drawing like removal spells and stuff like that. So I just hit you for 3, your turn, and he's like, draw, land, go. Draw, land, hit you for 3. Draw, go. Draw, hit you for 3. Play a dude. Draw, go. And I literally did that. I just smashed him with an ooze after wiping his board and killed him. And the other times when he had stuff, the first game and a little bit early in the second game, it was Icy Manipulator just tapping his shit down. And it was so fun because he gave me a run. But then he decided to say something stupid, and I was just done with him. I'm like, all of my respect for you is now gone. We shall never speak again. Off you fuck.
Yep.
And I just pulled out my phone and started texting people, and I'm like, I don't care. You can sit there. That's fine. I'm just not going to you. But the other guy, this is why it was not a full, 3-0 win, is that the guy that I was paired up with in round 3 was the guy who kicked the shit out of RJ in round 2, I think it was. And I saw the guy's deck because he was sitting right next to me. And I mean, this guy's deck was nasty. He had a Jozu Vest, and that guy overperforms. He probably should have made our list for top picks, honestly, or at least an honorable mention. But his deck is nasty. And he saw my deck because he was sitting next to me, and he was afraid of my deck, which is just black-green aggro. And it worked. And so he approaches me afterwards. I'm like, oh, fuck, not you. And he goes, I know. I don't want to play you either. I'm scared of your deck. You're scared of my deck. He goes, do you want to draw? And I look at him and I'm like, I haven't played in any events like this in ages, and I haven't played competitive Magic or tournament Magic in a long time. So I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, we can either gamble on who gets 9 packs and who gets 3 packs, or we can just say we draw and we both get 6. And I'm like, I'll take 6 packs, thanks. And he's like, thank you, I want to go home. So we go up there, we get our 6 packs, we come back, we start cracking them next to each other. He pulls a fucking Mox out of pack 1.
Of course he does.
And I pulled a Gilded Lotus, and I was super happy about it because I'm like, $15 card. You know, it's fine, you got the Mox. I'll get one later. I got another Gilded Lotus. I can try to trade that in for something and get a Mox. No. Gilded Lotus dropped like a fucking brick.
It's in the pre-con for, what's her name? Chandra.
Yep. Oh, I was pissed. I actually went up there to try and trade it in for credit. I'm like, how much will you give for a new Gilded Lotus? And they're like, $2. And I'm like, better come with something else then. Shit. And then I looked up the price on Cool Stuff. I'm like, holy fuck, they're selling them for like $3.99. Oh man. But anyway, so that was my singles run. 2-Headed Giant didn't go as well. We went 1 and 2. But that was the interesting thing, was that we pulled stuff for our EDH decks. We pulled stuff for Brawl if we wanted to do that. We pulled great stuff for our collection, for our other stuff. But we did not pull good stuff for Limited. Oh my god. And I mean, we pulled like 2 Marwins, and we got trapped because Dakota, my wonderful, wonderful partner, is an elf player. That's his EDH deck is Prerelease, the precon, and he kicks the shit out of us. Our constructed EDH decks, he beats the crap out of with a precon.
So you paired up with Dakota since RJ couldn't play?
Correct.
Ah.
And Dakota is a great Magic player. He is a great player of many games, and he is a dark horse because he is very subtle in how good he is at games. And that is why I was like, you know what, RJ, it's all right. I'm going to convince Dakota to play. And RJ was actually super awesome, and he's like, I tell you what, if you guys want to play, I will front you guys the money. I will pay for both of you guys to play tonight. And I'm like, well, then I will pay you back when I get paid. So we both got to play, and I told Dakota, I said, but there is one condition. If you pull a Mox, it's mine. And Andy was there, and he wanted to help us open packs, so he opened a couple of Dakota's packs, and the first one that he helped us open, he pulled me a Mox.
Nice.
And I literally turned so fast to Dakota, I go, you remember our deal, right? He goes, it's yours, it's fine. But he also did not have sleeves, and we were going to use the Mox, and I'm like, you are not using that Mox without sleeves. I am not using that Mox.
No. Yeah, put that thing in the sleeve.
Put it in the box.
How I think our card shop went around to everybody who didn't have sleeves and at least gave them penny sleeves to use.
See, it's upsetting how much better your card shops are.
They are pretty good.
But we had an interesting idea. So Dakota was going to go green-white aggro, and I was going to go black-blue. Black-blue control, hard control. That was the idea. He goes heavy aggro and keeps the pressure on, and I keep the board controlled with heavy control. I ended up deciding that I would go control, since I have the most experience with control. Black-blue is my colors, and it did not go well. Like, we cracked 4 unwinds. And I'm like, this is so good. How can we lose with 4 unwinds, right?
Unwinds really aren't that good in Limited.
They are shit in Limited. I had 3 of them main board, and I regretted every single one of them.
They might be a trap card.
I think that they are a trap card. In fact, I'm putting that in my list of trap cards.
I mean, they're great constructed.
They are. They're fantastic and constructed. The problem is that the idea of him going heavy aggro and me going heavy control, in theory, would have worked great, but there's not enough solid control cards in Dominaria to be able to control a wide board, because I didn't pull Phyrexian Scriptures. I didn't have board wipes. Right. That was the problem.
We had no board wipes, and the fact that the main counterspell Wizard's Revolt is uncommon.
Mm-hmm. I think we pulled one or two of those. And I probably should have just ran them. I think we only pulled one. I think that's why I didn't. So, I don't know. We got crushed by two heavy aggro decks. There were actually more stompy decks. And we just couldn't keep pace. He couldn't get enough stuff out. He ended up getting Marwyn out and never drew another elf. So she just sat there. And it just... Yeah, no shit. And so we just kind of fizzled out and got crushed. So between games, we completely switched decks. I started looking through some of the stuff that he pulled. And I saw that he pulled a Varix. And I'm like, why the fuck are you not playing red? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we have a Varix. And he's like,
Varix
yeah.
is strong.
He's so good. And I'm like, you need to play red. And he's like, well, do I drop green or do I drop white? And I'm like, let me look through your deck. And I literally thumbed through, because he actually split the piles. Here's the green stuff, here's the white stuff. And the green stuff was literally 2 Marwyns, like 3 or 4 elves, and like 2 other cards that didn't. Kamal's Druidic Vow and 1 other card. And I literally looked at it and I just tossed the green cards to him. I go, green, you're dropping green. There's nothing in green for you, but we did have some solid red stuff, especially Varix. And so he ended up switching to that, and I actually switched to black-blue aggro, because we did pull some stuff like the... I can't remember what it is. It's a 2-1 for like 2. Whenever you play a historic spell, they can't be blocked. Just stuff like that, and just early game aggro. He had mid-game aggro, and we just kind of went through there. We ended up winning our second game. Yeah, I think that's the one. Or Relic Runner.
Yeah, that's it.
We did okay. Like, we squeaked by and took the second game, and we won that one. And then the third game, we got fucking... We could not draw a single thing. They had Karn's Temporal Sundering. They had just all this freaking nonsense removal. They had counter spells. It was shit. We got smashed. But we still had fun. And we didn't win anything, but we did pull some really good stuff. You know, he pulled a Mox for me, and we pulled stuff for our EDH deck. So even though we didn't get anything, the Two-Headed Giant was a lot of fun.
They didn't have participation prizes?
I wish.
Oh, my place did. As long as you do not drop before the 3rd round, everybody gets a pack.
Yeah, see, Metagames doesn't do that because it hates their customers.
Yeah, well, they just don't like people dropping. Like, you know, you pick up your stuff and you drop. That's bullshit. You know, play. You paid for it. Yeah.
That makes sense. But it was still a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Joe and Ben had a rough time because they crushed this group in the first game. I mean, just beat the shit out of them. It was disgusting to watch. I still watched it and enjoyed, but it was disgusting. But their second game, they got the opposing team down to 3 health and could not kill them. So it counted as a draw, even though they were at 36 health. And I'm like, that's stupid. It should have counted as a win. Yeah, you had 33 health on them.
Yeah, they don't have a mechanism like that in Magic.
Yeah, it's called time on the round. Who has the highest life total?
Yep.
How it used to be. back in my day...
Get off my porch.
Get off my porch.
Back in my day, you couldn't mulligan unless you had no land.
No shit. But so they basically got fucked out of that and got a draw, and then they lost their third round, so it basically counted as a 1-2. So they didn't get anything either.
Still
and
telling
it's like,
you,
well,
if Joe wants to trade that to Fury, I will be more than happy to replace it and give him another promo card.
He might trade it for something else because he already has it to Fury.
Yeah, and he probably doesn't want to play blue-white.
He actually does. He's going to build a Wrath Commander deck.
Oh, well, I have the cards.
Yep.
When it comes to blue-white.
That's true. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun. But a very cool thing was I was able to rope RJ into playing because that was my gift to him for his birthday last week.
Good job.
I paid for his entry into the pre had a blast, and he did want me to pass on his thoughts of the tournament or of the event that we played in together, and that was the singles event. I tried so hard to rope him into Two-Headed Giant because that would have been awesome, but it was too late for him. His thoughts were that it is an awesome set. It's full of nostalgia. The random people that we kind of had around our table, they were talking about card strategy, but that me and him actually had a deeper conversation about the lore, the story, all the little hidden Easter eggs in the pictures and in the flavor text and stuff like that. As far as mechanics go, it's loose enough that you can kind of do whatever you want and not really get pigeonholed into one strategy. And I've seen this with a lot of sets, like, hey, I pulled some really good, like, Merfolk, so I guess I have to play Merfolk because that's all I've got. But with this, you can really mix and match a lot of stuff and make a cohesive strategy. And one of the things that happened with him was white-red aggro in the first game, and he switched to white-green aggro in the second game, and he was kicking ass after he did that. And that is one thing that I do really love, just as a side note, that in Sealed you can change your deck between rounds. Did not know that.
It's very nice.
Did not know that. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm stuck with this terrible deck. And that's kind of how RJ felt. And I'm like, how come you're not running these and these? And he's like, well, because I got really good stuff with this. I'm like, but this card's so good. And you also got this. And he's like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I mean,
and also in Sealed, it is not against the rules to have another person help you build the deck either,
which is nice. Now, is it in Draft? Is that against the rules?
Yeah, in Draft it's a little different, but Sealed is technically supposed to be more casual.
I got you. Is Draft not considered a casual?
No, it is not.
Really? I see a bunch of fucking pro players there on Friday. That's upsetting.
Probably.
I'm gonna be just a dick about everything then. Anywho, back to RJ's thoughts. He was really happy with the switch to green-white. It gave him a more cohesive strategy. He really enjoyed it. Lots better creatures and consistency. And he wanted to give a shout out to Eternal for keeping his drafting and sealed play skills really sharp, because he's been playing Eternal off and on. And finally, the camaraderie that we all had with Dakota, Joe, Ben, and Andy, and the joy of just cracking new packs and passing cards around, and just it felt good to have the group, part of the group there. And even Will Lentz was there. He bought a box, and he was just cracking open his box while we were opening our sealed stuff and building decks. It felt like old school Magic. It felt like playing Magic in high school, and you got your friends around, and you're opening packs, and you're talking about cards and stuff. It was really fun.
It was a good experience.
It really was. It gave me hope for future pre-releases and sealed events and stuff like that, especially if I can get some of the crew there. But Joe and Ben had a blast. Joe said he's actually going to look at playing Commander with us and building a real deck. Ben, I think, is going to start trying to play a little too. Dakota and Andy and Will are all super excited to be brewing some new stuff and playing with us. And before this, before the past couple of months, none of them really played Magic. I mean, way back in the day, but they never played Magic with us. It was Thrones and, L5R and Netrunner and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to be able to bring our Thrones group into be playing Magic together too.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since there's, Thrones has really died down.
It kind of has. Like, there's a lot of big announcements and stuff. Like, we'll be hosting the U.S. National Championships Thrones here in Springfield. Don't ask me why. I have no fucking idea how that happened, why, or whose bright idea that was, but cool for us, I guess.
Yeah.
We're also hosting a regional now. We got a regional back, and we're nationals, and we have first player. I do feel for Will. That's a lot of stress to have 3 premier tournaments going at once.
Yeah, it really is.
And I think they're like a week apart or 2 weeks apart. So it's going to be a nightmare. But we'll get to all that later. We'll talk about that in another episode. But I did want us to go through our top picks for limited play. The stuff that we really saw shine from our side or facing us down on the other side and kicking our teeth in. So, Crimson, what were some solid picks that you saw in limited?
Now, I got 11 on here. I stuck with the rule of no rare or mythics. There are definitely rares and mythics that are must-plays.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, scriptures and a couple other ones.
Oh, yeah.
But, for me, one of the best damn cards out there is Blessed Light. This thing... dude, there's so many people out there that are, like, not hating on it, but just ignoring it. And I'm like, it's a Vraska's Contempt that cost 1 more, but only 1 solid color.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets rid of enchantments instead of Planeswalkers, which you are going to see more enchantments than you will Planeswalkers, especially with the sagas.
That was actually my thought too, and Blessed Light is on my list as well. And my list is not in any specific order; it's just the ones I thought of.
Yeah. So Blessed Light, if you're
that's
drafting,
the key. There's sagas in this set.
Yeah, exactly. If you were drafting, you need to grab Blessed Light. Now, is it a first pick? Maybe not. There's some uncommons that I think are more important.
Yeah.
Like this next one, which I cannot pronounce the name, so I'll let you do that.
Quendi, Pride Ephemera.
Yes. This card is a definite first pick in draft. I've seen so many people go, I'll equip a Jousting Lance onto my character. Oh, look, now it has double strike as I attack you to the face. Quendi...
So strong.
Yeah, Quendi breaks people. Super good. Another first pick, like if I saw this in the pack, guaranteed gonna first pick it, is Seal Away. Probably the best goddamn removal in this set. By far.
It's strong.
So damn good. I mean, you play white to play Seal Away.
And there's not a ton of enchantment removal in this set.
Other than Blessed Light and Invoke. Those are the 2. Well, I guess there's Broken Oath.
Yeah, Broken Oath will do it too.
Yeah.
But that's 3 cards.
Yep.
Yeah, Seal Away is strong.
Yeah, Seal Away is super good. Now, the Bomb of Bombs, the just unbelievable serial crusher of all hope, Sarah Angel.
She's back.
I mean,
again.
There's a reason why she was the only creature in one of the most popular decks ever made back in 93, 94.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because she is super strong.
Yep.
You will win games if you get a Sarah out. They will have to spend removal on her.
Yeah, she demands an answer, especially in Limited, because she is maybe the most efficient creature in the set, other than her, mythic counterpart, the Baneslayer on steroids.
Yep. And even then, the mythic counterpart doesn't have vigilance like she does.
It's true.
Yeah, that vigilance is really key.
It is, especially in limited, where you don't always have a bunch of great answers or a bunch of big creatures to deal with threats. So being able to swing in, especially overhead with flying, and still be there to block is incredible.
She can't be sealed away.
Because she doesn't tap.
She doesn't tap.
Yep.
Super strong. But you know what she can be? She can be reproached by Gildan.
Oh, yeah, from Gideon's Reproach. That's true.
Gideon's
she can
Reproach.
also be Blessed Light.
Yeah.
Blessed Light can hit her, but...
Gideon's Reproach is a common. I would probably not pick it first unless you don't have one of these other ones in your uncommon slot. Because I guarantee you, it is not going to whip around. You will not wheel it back. It will be picked. So if you let it go by, it's gone. You ain't seeing that again.
Yep.
But yeah, 2 mana killer card. You can attack. They can try to chump block and pop. They could attack you. I mean, you could have a person with first strike, do the 4 damage, and have the first strike finish them off.
Yep.
I mean, just unbelievably good. Okay, that's enough white cards.
Finally. It's funny because,
I'm not a white mage.
Yeah, you are primarily a blue player.
Yeah. So, white is for one thing, Wrath of God.
Yep. Not anymore. Now it's for a lot of things. And that does... the set is that it still sticks to the color wheel, obviously.
Yep.
But it feels like the color wheel is more accurately and faithfully represented.
Yeah. It's really good. Now, this next card won me games and lost me a game. In Bolus's Clutches.
Yup.
This card will take their bomb and swing it right back into their face.
Yup.
So many times I've used this card. But here's the other thing. Say they get an Icy Manipulator out on you. Oh, that's mine.
Yep.
Here's the real evil thing you can do. And I did this once. I was playing against a person. He was like, planes. He's like, fuck, I cannot get a swamp for the love of God. Gets a swamp. He plays a creature. I take his swamp.
It says just enchant permanent, doesn't it?
Enchant permanent. He looked at me.
And it's a legendary swamp at that.
Yeah, he looked at me like I shot his dog.
Oh my god.
He was like,
so
you can't
bad.
do that. I'm like, it doesn't say non-land. He's like, wow.
Oh my god.
That is dumb. I'm
That's
like,
so bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But then I also tried to take an equipment card that was attached to a character. And I thought it would fall off because equipment cards can't be attached to, characters you don't own. Mm-hmm. No, Judge is like, no, it doesn't fall off. And now I have heard later that it would actually fall off during the upkeep, supposedly.
If you take control of something that has an equipment on it?
No, if you take the equipment itself. Because it can't be, equipped on a creature that you don't control. So I think there's supposed to be a state-based effect where it checks, and it would have fallen off, but Judge didn't know that. And I haven't looked it up to verify either.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, because of that, I mean, I just got... I took the black sword, or the dark sword, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the motherfucker was a +7/+7. Insane.
Shit.
And the dude had a Morrowind. Like, literally, the turn after I took that, because I was holding it for his Motani, I mean. And he placed a damn Motani.
8?
Yeah, he had a Motani and the dark sword.
Ouch.
Yeah, insane. I lost that match, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
My VIP card, Cold Water Snapper. The goddamn turtle is brutal.
He's very strong because there's basically no removal that hits him except for Phyrexian Scriptures.
and the Urza's Blast. And
And
that's
yours
it.
is Blast because he's not legendary, yeah.
And I'm running a ton of. I mean, I think, when I ran white, I ran 3 Blessed Lights, so I could have took care of any scriptures. But Urza's Blast will get you there.
Yeah, unless you unwind it.
Yeah, I didn't play any unwinds.
Because they're bad.
Yeah, they stayed in my sideboard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, multiple times I put like Dub on the turtle. I would put the.
It was a turtle night.
Yep. I mean, it's not as cool as a Murloc Knight, but it's still cool.
That's fair.
Or give it flying and +1/+1 with the arcane wings. I mean, it's so strong. Put Sarah's wings on it, and it's just brutal. And now it's a legendary, so it will survive the Urza's Ruinous Blast. The turtle, I wouldn't say it's a first pick, but damn, if you can pick it turn 3 or 4, yeah, it's all the way.
And he's so subtle.
Yeah.
Like, people don't look at that card usually and go, oh, this guy's a bomb.
Yeah.
No, they look at him and they're like, some stupid fucking turtle.
He's still not going to make it around, but yeah.
No.
Still stupid good.
He's very strong.
My next card is Untamed Kavu.
Yup.
Wow. So,
speaking of pure value,
yeah.
This is the green Sarah Angel for me.
Yeah. So I had in my second event I played black green. I had Lana War Elves, I had 1 Steel Leaf, and 2 Untamed Kavus. I also had the other elf that taps for 1 or taps for 2 if you use it for kicker.
Yes.
So, and a Grun and a bunch of other kicker stuff, and a Verdant Force. Oof,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was the one that I went 3-1 and got top 4. But yeah, bringing out an Untamed Kavu on turn 3 is busted good. Because it has Vigilance and Trample.
So strong.
And it's a 5/5 if you kick it. I mean, even non-kicked, a 2/2 for 2 with Vigilance and Trample is still good. Because you could Giant Growth it.
Yeah.
So good.
Just pure value.
This next card, dude, pick this next card. It's super good if you're in blue. It's called Deep Freeze. Very, very strong. There's nothing like throwing a Deep Freeze on their Iana or, their Weatherlight Captain or, what is her name? The chick you like, the mole creep vine. Modratha. Oh, jeez. Yep. So good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've seen the, tap a creature, keep it tapped, but a lot of times these creatures have other abilities. This just wipes it. It's it's a humility. It's amazing. Such a good pick.
This is actually one that did not make my list, even though it should. The reason that it didn't is actually because it turns it into a 0. But let's go ahead and explain what the card does, because there is a combo that I found with this.
Okay. I believe it cost 1 blue, 2 colorless. Enchant creature becomes a 0/4 wall and loses all abilities.
And as well as its colors, types, and it gains defender.
Yeah.
So there is something very interesting about this. Now, let's say you crack a Joyra. That's the dream in this set. The dream is to crack a Joyra. Now you're playing red-blue because the whole set is based around triggering her ability. And in limited, drawing cards is incredible. So here's the thing. Deep Freeze turns a creature into a 0/4 wall that has, and it has defender, so it can only block. Now, there is a card that was reprinted in the set that is amazing with Joyra, and also gets to completely ignore this card, and I'm pretty sure with that chuckle you know what card this is.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was an alpha. Of course I know what it is.
It is Juggernaut, bitch!
Yeah.
Now, Juggernaut is 4 for a 5/3 that must attack each turn if able, and it is an artifact. So it draws you a card off of Joyra because it is historic. It can also flash in with Wrath because it's historic. But it does say Juggernaut can't be blocked by walls.
Yep.
So you eliminate that creature with Deep Freeze. It turns it into a 0/4 wall. Bleh, it just sits there and blocks. Except this 5/3 that gets right past it every turn.
You know what else gets past it? Sarah Angel.
You know shit it does. So that is... Deep Freeze is a solid card.
Yeah. Super solid. Also a commander-worthy card.
It is.
Because you can place it on their commander, and they don't get the option to, oh, well, I'll put it back in the command zone. No, it's not going anywhere.
Sits there. Yep.
Yep, your commander's hosed until you can find a way to remove that Deep Freeze.
Yep, and they can just block one of your creatures and kill it that way. But that does still punish them, because then it goes to the command, play it for more. Or, if you have flying, or can't be blocked, or... Shadow, horsemanship, since we're talking old school. So that kind of stuff, you can really abuse that Deep Freeze.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Now, if you do happen to go into red, which...
Don't do it. It's a trap.
I don't know why you
That should
would.
actually be in our trap cards, is just anything red.
Fight with Fire is incredibly strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you kick it, you go straight to their face. 10 damage is a lot to deal with. It's half your life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ouch.
It's basically a better Urza's Rage.
Yeah.
It's 2 and a red. It deals 5 damage to target creature, or if you kick it for 5 more and another red. So 9 total, I believe. Yeah, so if you kick it for 7 colorless and 2 red, it deals 10 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets.
Yep, it's super strong.
It can wipe a board if they've got weenies. It can go straight to face for 10 damage. It is strong, and it is only uncommon.
Now, my last one is Arvad the Cursed. There are so many effing legendaries in the set, like Danitha, Kadwi, or whatever you call them. Just tons of them. Arvad the Cursed, Death Touch, Lifelink, 3/3 for 5, gives all your other legendaries +2/+2. So good. Value.
It is so strong.
And if you get a couple good rares that go with him, like the other white-black one, you're just... It's insane.
You are off to the races with this guy if you get to drop him.
Yeah. He is 100% playable.
Oh, yeah. And I wish that I would have seen even one of him in my 2 events.
Yeah, you might see him bet more in draft.
Yeah. And I will draft him. He's so solid.
Yeah, I'll play 3 colors for him.
No shit. And you know what's fun? Wrath being a 5/5 flyer with flash.
Yep. For 4.
For 4. Danitha, or just so good.
You flash in Wrath, then you do your stuff, they go, they attack, you block with Rash, and you flash in him.
Flash in Arvid, yeah. It's so strong! And he is a vampire knight. So he has synergy with the rest of the vampires that are in standard right now. As well as if you're playing commander, he slots right into an Edgar Markov deck or any other black-white vampire deck.
And the synergies with knights is there too. I mean, he's just all around good. Well, that's my list. How about yours?
My list is not as constricted as yours because I said fuck it to no rares and no mythics. But I only have 1 mythic and I believe 2 rares. Yes, 2 rares.
3.
So So not bad, not bad. First one that I have to say is Phyrexian Scriptures, and it is exactly for the reason that I spoke of earlier.
Yep.
It is that
It's broken.
nobody reads it, nobody knows how to play against it.
And it's broken. And
it is broken.
It's good in standard, good in just all around.
It's good in everything.
You can flash it at end of turn. If you have Wrath out, make Wrath an artifact creature. You go, oh look, it's the same thing as playing a Damnation. Only you used it at the end of the turn and you have land untapped.
Yeah, because you flash it in at the end of somebody's turn, it triggers the Act 1, and then you immediately go into your turn, which triggers Act 2.
Yep.
That is how strong Wrath is.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that fucker in a minute. But
I didn't put him on my list because I never got one.
That's true. See, I got to see them because Joe had them, and he was sitting next to us. But Phyrexian Scriptures is just strong because no matter what you are playing, it will always be good because you are the only one who comes out on. Unless you're playing against a deck that's nothing but artifact creatures, then it's not very good.
Right.
But my second one, Untamed Kavu, exactly for the same reasons we just talked about. He's straight up value.
So good.
Early game, he's strong. Mid game, he's strong. Late game, still strong. Pick 3, Raph, because he's stupid. He's uncommon. What the fuck?
He's super
This guy is worthy of being mythic, and it's because he is that damn good. He is a mini Teferi Zephyr Mage, or whatever the fuck he's called. And he only
cost 4.
He costs 2, a blue and a white, for a 3/3 flying flash. Your historic spells have flash. Wow. This set is all about historics. I can flash in Joyra. I can flash in a Weatherlight. And here's something very interesting. So let's just say you're playing limited, and you got a Weatherlight and you got a Wrath. You've got Wrath out, and they're like, "Yeah, I'll swing with this big 4/4." You're not gonna block it with Wrath, and you're like, "Cool, I'll flash in a Weatherlight, tap Wrath to crew it, block."
Yep.
Eat all of the bags of dicks, because that is a thing that can happen.
Yeah,
he is that strong, being able to flash in a Scriptures, being able to flash in a Time of Ice to tap down their attackers.
Yeah, he is all about the utility.
He is pure utility, and there is not a downside to him. At the very least, he is a 3/3 flyer with flash.
I sure hope he doesn't actually become Nicol Bolas.
Oh, God.
There's rumors that Wrath is Nicol Bolas in disguise.
See, I heard that about Teferi.
No, Teferi's way too well known.
No. That Teferi is actually not even there. That Teferi is on another plane. And that Nicol Bolas is there as Teferi.
That would be interesting.
To try and get all of the Gatewatch and all of the Weatherlight crew together so that he can have his eternal dominion. I'm interested. I want to see this story unfold. But Wrath is amazing. There is no way that you can draft him or pop him in sealed and he won't be good. This one is the card that brought slurs to the lips of angry nerds. Icy Manipulator!
It's back. It's got a good picture, and it's super strong and limited.
It's just that good. And I got so much value of it. At my heart, I am a control player. I'm aggro control, or as they call it, quote unquote, mid-range now, for all you fucking people that played after my day.
Or tempo.
In Hearthstone terms. But anyway, Icy Manipulator is so strong in limited because, for instance, you have a Yargle staring you down and you have no blockers. Pay 1 and tap it. And you just do that forever.
For instance, their mana screwed on a color. During your upkeep, tap your swamp.
Yep. Probably one of my best plays with Icy in these events was in the singles event. That one of my opponents, I think it was my first opponent, he had a Yargle out, and He goes, I'm going to combat, and I'm like, pay 1, tap it. And I had a couple of creatures out, and he just had the Yargle and 1 other, and I'm like, okay, untap, draw, I will play a creature, I will pay 1 and tap down your other creature and swing all at face.
Yep.
It's that versatile.
It really is.
That card gets you there when you need it.
Yep.
It buys you time, and then it opens them up. And that is something that you need in Limited.
There's a lot of times I'd take an Icy over a rare any day of the week.
Same. Like, unless that rare is bonkers. But yeah, like, when I got Icy in both of my events, I'm like, okay, we win. Unfortunately, in the 2-headed giant, it didn't work there. But yeah, I won 2 of my games from Scriptures and 2 of my games from Scriptures, 3 of my games from Icy, because Icy enabled me to get the Scriptures out. Next one is actually one that nobody's talking about, and it's amazing. It's called Dark Bargain. It is a common, and it is going to light Pauper on fire. It is 3 and a black for an instant, and this is why it's so important, is that it's an instant. You look at the top 3 cards of your deck, you put 2 of those 3 into your hand, discard the last one, and take 2 damage.
Seems
it
good.
Is card draw and filtering at the cost of 2 life, and you can end of turn it.
And enables Muldrotha.
It enables Muldrotha. It says for Muldrotha, instant, cost 4, draw 3 cards, take 2 damage. And in black, that's amazing.
Yeah, because black is always lacking in card draw.
It always has usually bad card draw.
Yeah,
like,
or card draw that costs too much life.
Yeah. So this one is just good. Play it if you get it in draft or something. I wouldn't say like even 4th pick, but like if it gets around to you and you're playing black, grab it. It's good. It's gonna get you there because the other colors do not have good card advantage.
Yeah.
This one does.
If it whips around, grab it.
Exactly. Sylvan Awakening is the other one that nobody's talking about, and I freaking love this card.
Now this is a rare, correct?
This is one of the 2 rares. Now, I did not get to see anybody play this card. I got 2 of them. I gave 1 to Dakota because he plays mono green. But I'm keeping 1 because it's just that strong. It is 2 and a green for sorcery. Until your next turn, all lands you control become 2/2 elemental creatures with reach, indestructible, and haste. They are still lands. Now, the key to that card is that it says they are indestructible. That allows you to attack. It allows you to block without any repercussions.
Is it a sorcery or an instant?
Unfortunately, it is a sorcery. But it does say until your next turn.
Okay.
So it lasts your turn and your opponent's turn if you're playing Commander. It lasts 4 turns, basically.
So if they do have a Fall of the Thrawn, you can avoid it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly, because Fall of Thrawn is it's a saga, so unless it gets flashed in with Wrath, you're going to be able to plan around it. And this card can do it.
No, because Fall of the Thrawn is
Is it the first? Is it the number
first
1?
chapter? Yeah.
Ooh, that hurts. Never mind. Okay, so not good against Fall of Thrawn, but it is still a solid card because it actually reminds me of a card in Hearthstone. Speaking of Hearthstone, it's a Druid card, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called, but it is a
Living
card that
Lands
says
or
something like that. Yeah, and it turns all of your mana crystals into 2/2 treants, and you get to swing with them. Now, you lose all those mana crystals. But whenever one dies, you get that mana crystal back. Now, the way that this one works is very similar because you are tapping those lands to attack, so you do lose those in the next turn. But they are indestructible. They are just good. They have reach, so they're great blockers. They have haste, attackers. It is a card that nobody sees coming. You've got 8 lands out. You've got that stupid sword that gives your legendary guy +1/+1 for each land you control. on, let's just say, a Kabu or something. You probably won't because it costs 7 to equip. But you just dream with me for a moment. You've got a dude out with that. You play that card for 3. You've got 5 lands that are now 2/2 indestructible. And you just swing out with this wide-ass board of elementals.
Yeah. Or you tapped your Gilded Lotus to play it.
Ooh, fuck yeah, that's strong. Yeah. Oh.
I mean, if we're dreaming.
That's the complete dream right there, is Gilded Lotus to do it. So you just have that option of being able to go wide and really secure that win with that card. So if you're playing green, one of those rolls around, grab it. It's strong because you're gonna have lands. And that can be a finisher because they just can't block that wide of a board.
Yeah, it can be tough.
Exactly. The next one is my other rare. I believe she's rare. Let me find
yes,
her.
she is.
She is rare. This one, if I crack her in a pack, I'm playing black-white. I don't care what I'm doing with my life or any other bad decisions that I've made. This makes up for all of them. This is Ariel, Knight of Windgrace. She is 2, a white and a black for a 4/4 vigilance. So 4 for a 4/4 vigilance. If that's all she said, she is value. That is not all she says. She has 2 and a white, tap. Create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. That seems incredible.
So swing at the end of their turn, since she has vigilance, create a token.
Yep. Also, you can swing. They attack. You can block with her. And tap to create a 2/2 token. She is pure value. But wait! There's more! Pay a black and tap her. Tap X untapped knights you control. Destroy target creature with power X or less.
Yep, and she creates her own knight.
She creates her own fucking knights. Her own knights with vigilance. So you can, if you grow wide, get a wide board, you can swing with her and her knight tokens. And when they go, hey, I'm going to attack with Yargle. Cool. It probably wouldn't be Yargle, because that'd be 9 knights plus her. But Untamed Kabu with Kicker. I'll tap her and 5 of my knight tokens, blow it up. My turn, untap, smash your face with vigilance. Oh, you play another creature? Kill it. She is her own engine and removal on a single card. Absolute bonkers. And she works great with Arvad the Cursed, because he is a vampire knight. Pretty damn strong.
Yeah, I played against somebody who had both of them.
That hurts.
Yep.
Especially because then she becomes a 6/6 vigilant. So strong. Next one is Blessed Light. Obviously, it's just too damn strong with all the sagas running around and creatures. It pops the 2 biggest problems you're going to come into. Creatures and sagas. And it's instant speed. And again, another one of my picks that we shared, Sarah Angel, pure value. This is the one that nobody expected. And I won every game with this creature out, and it's Corrosive Ooze. In my singles event, I ended up getting 3 of them. And I sat there and I was talking to RJ while I was building my deck. Should I play this other card, or should I just go up to 3 oozes? And he goes, I would go up to 3 oozes. I'm like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, you should probably go up to the 3rd ooze. It's, at the worst case, it's a bear with an upside.
Yeah, I mean, this was completely off my radar.
Yeah. And you even asked me, and I have had so many people ask me who talked to about this, and they're like, but did you see a lot of equipment? And my first game, one of the first guy that I played, he had 3 equipment in our 2 games. He had 1 the first game and 2 the second game. They were dead cards, and he had already played them on the field. So he wasted turns and wasted mana getting those cards out, and they were. So, yes, because at the worst possible level, they are a 2/2 for 2. And
Yep.
you want 2/2s for 2 in a sealed environment, or in any limited environment.
2 and 3 cost are your bread and butter.
Absolutely. And they were, because I drew them every game. I mean, you're running a 40-card deck, and I had 3 copies of those. Of course, I was getting them every game. It's strong. It's strong, especially if you are cracking packs and you see a lot of equipment getting passed around. Nab them, because you're going to shut down a lot of players. At the very least, they're going to have dead cards in hand. At the very best, they're going to have dead cards on board.
But more importantly, if you're drafting and you're drafting a lot of equipment,
counter-draft them.
about counter-drafting those.
Yep. Just strong. And just efficient. Last one on my list is Time of Ice.
Oh, I want to break this so bad.
I'm surprised you didn't have this one on your list. This card is so damn good. And I got to play it in Two-Headed Giant, and it shut somebody down. Like, this was the reason that we won our second game, is because I tapped down somebody's entire board.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't do anything, and I got to bounce 6 creatures.
In Standard, you're going to see this in the Merfolk decks. Because the Merfolk have that Tempest Merfolk that has Flash and that taps down all their creatures.
Yup.
This is just a board wipe.
It is amazing. It is so strong because, okay, so this is what it is. Because I read it when it got announced, and I was like, yeah, it's all right. I missed a couple of things. So it is 3 and a blue for an enchantment saga. Everybody knows what sagas do, and if you don't, look it up. They're cool. Acts 1 and 2. Tap target creature and opponent control. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Time of Ice. I thought it was just they skip, they don't untap during the next untap step. They do not untap during its controller's untap step as long as you control Time of Ice.
Yep.
So that is going to be the first act is going to be 3 turns basically. So that is Acts 1 and 2. Act 3 is return all tapped creatures to their owner's hand. So that is basically a time walk, or can effectively be a time walk if they have a lot of creatures and they can't kill you before this thing triggers, because if they turn all their shit sideways, it bounces it all to hand.
Yep. And this tells me that Modern now has a stasis card.
Basically, yeah.
Modern has Power Conduit, 2 casting costs, Artifact from Muradin. Mm-hmm. You can tap it to remove or add a counter from a card.
Oh,
so you can perpetually stay on Act 2.
Yep, it is 2 colorless or 2 generic for an artifact. Tap, remove a counter from an opponent you controlled, choose one. Put a charge counter on target artifact, or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature.
Yep.
And you can put those charge counters on an artifact that does not take charge counters.
Oh, and here's the crazy thing. When Time of Ice was announced, Power Conduit went from like a $1 card to like a $3-4 card.
Yep, I was gonna say it's up to on cool stuff right now. I will have to pick one of those up.
Yep,
maybe
a
couple.
Commander deck.
Yup. So yeah, Time of Ice is just strong. It's great because it taps down their threats and it also opens them up for attacks.
Now
it's very icy manipulatory.
I have a honorable mention.
Sure.
Vicious Offering. I completely forgot about this card, but this is a mid pick, but you want them. 1 colorless, 1 black. Target creature gets -2/-2. Kick or sacrifice a creature. They get -5/-5 instead.
This is hilarious. I'm glad that you mentioned this one. Almost made my list, and I was like, God, do I want to just go up to 12 card? So this is also my honorable mention, because I got 2 of these in Two-Headed Giant, and I had 1 of them in my singles event, and this card overperforms.
Yeah, I had 3 of them in my black-green deck, I'm like, I'll sack a Saproline
Mm-hmm. To kill your big dude,
to kill your
or
Cabo.
yeah, or your Yargle. But the crazy thing is that just for one and a black, it's an instant that kills a two strength or a two toughness creature, and this set is flooded with those two.
Also kills a
So,
Baneslayer.
yeah, it can. Yeah, the kicker can kill damn near everything in the set.
Yep.
So really, really, it takes out the Gorilla King dude too,
Yeah.
and that
If you
that
can
some
kick 'em.
bitch is dangerous.
Yeah. Super good card. Definitely something to think about.
Absolutely. It's just solid removal. You may look at something like I think it's a something like that. It's okay. It's 3 and a black, sorcery, destroy target creature, and it's solid. I prefer that card. I prefer Vicious Offering over that one.
Yeah, see, a lot of people were talking about Eviscerate and how good it is, and I'm like, Vicious Offering's better.
It is, because it gets around indestructible. It gets around anything like that. It
And
is a strong card.
and there are a couple indestructible creatures in this set.
Yep. So definitely give that a look if you're drafting black, nab it.
Yeah. Now,
Go ahead.
now, what about cards that are just bad?
Well, and there's a difference between bad cards and good cards that trap you.
Yeah.
And this is our next topic because we all kind of fell into some of these traps.
Yeah. I only have a couple on my list.
Yes.
Fall Thran is definitely on there. Just it just isn't good in limited. I'm sorry.
No, it's trash in
Yeah.
limited. It really is.
The other one that's on my list is Calico Skin Witch.
Yep.
A lot of people were talking about how good this card is. I'm sorry, it costs too much to have them choose 2 cards to discard.
Yes.
It just
This one saw a ton of play in Two-Headed Giant because each opponent counts both of us.
Yep.
So we each discarded 2 cards as a single target, basically. Otherwise, this card is terrible
Yeah.
because it's not even efficient.
Yeah. If it was random, if it was him to Turok, yeah, it'd be good. But
And
as
that's
it
a
is,
maybe at that cost.
as it is, no. No.
No. Nope.
My other one seems like a weird one. Like, I thought it was good, and I ended up pulling it out of my deck, and it's Wild Onslaught. It costs 4,
Really?
3 colorless, 1 green. Gives all your creatures a +1/+1 counter. If you kick it for another 4, it gives them another +1/+1 counter. The problem that I found in limited is you just don't have a wide enough board. Now, hey, if you happen to get a Sylvan land walking
Sylvan
craziness
Awakening. Yep.
and you have non-land mana, sure, it might be worth it. But for the most part, I found this card to be completely not worth it, even with playing a token deck.
See, and it's funny because I thought this card was going to really perform in limited, and I didn't get one when I was playing black green. But the funny thing that you said, and it really struck a chord with me, was that you don't go wide in limited. And you are so right, because even with my aggro deck, both of them, when I switched to black blue aggro, and of course when I was doing the singles black green,
Probably had a max of 3 characters. on board.
about 3, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is instant, so you could end of turn it, but I feel like if I had 4 mana untapped, I would rather that Wild Onslaught be another creature.
Yeah, you really would. And that's what it came down to. It
Yep.
just wasn't effective enough.
Yeah.
Now, my last one, like, here's my professor voice. If you read the card, it explains what the card does. I did not read this card. This is Guardians of Koilos.
Guardians of Koilos.
Koilos. I think 5 casting costs for 4/4. When it comes into play, return a historic card to your hand. I, for some reason, had the word graveyard in there somewhere.
No.
Yeah. So I was like, dude, this is great. They're gonna pop my icy. I'm gonna play this, get my icy back, and the dude's looking at me like, it doesn't work like that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, son of a bitch. He's like, you still got a 4/4. I still killed him with it, but yeah, it did not work the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, now you're starting to sound like the command zone guy.
Yeah.
I don't like this card because it doesn't do.
It just, in my mind, that's what it should have done. I mean, that's what this set's all about is,
Yeah.
historic. And I'm like, oh, great, we got a way to get back a historic card.
Yeah, you thought that this was the artifact version of the Daring.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Guardians of Koilos is a okay card. It is 5 for a 4/4 at the minimum.
Yeah.
And it could bounce something back for a second trigger of a ETB effect or Joyra or something like that. It's just not a very good card.
Your Dragon, your Vraxus.
Oh, yeah, because you can bounce for a kicker.
Yeah, so, I mean, if they killed the token somehow, or you blocked with the token, you could bounce the thing back and play it again next turn. I mean, there's things you could do. It's just not as good as I thought it was.
Definitely.
No, that's my list.
My trap card list for Limited starts with Marwyn, the Nurturer. I'm sorry. This card is so good. It is so good. It is shit for Limited.
I mean, maybe in draft? Or you...
Maybe.
Look, if this is like your first pick, maybe, because then you can start pocking up all the elves. But yeah, I agree. You just don't have enough elves.
Here's the problem, and I'm going to reference draft and in sealed. In sealed, you're not going to get enough elves, and that's the trap we fell into. We pulled 2 Marwyns in our 2-headed giant pod, okay? 2 Marwyns. That is so good.
You know what you do with 2 Marwyns?
You set them aside and build a different color.
You play one. The next turn you play the next one. Choose the new one to discard. And then you should get another +1/+1 on the other Marwyn.
God. That's sad. That's almost what it came down to. Because we only got like 3 or 4 other elves. And that's the other problem with, and this is the problem with drafting Marwyn, is that if anyone else is playing green, even if you are the one who picked Marwyn, there's no other Marwyn around. People will pick Llanowar elves. People will pick Steel Leaf Champion. Because they're so good.
Yeah, because they're just straight good value cards.
Yeah, so you will get fucked if you try to go with a Marwyn strategy just because other people, if they're even playing that color at all, are going to draft those other cards for sheer efficiency. So she's just bad in Limited. She's incredible in everything else, but she is bad in Limited. You're not going to pull enough elves to make her worthwhile in Sealed, and people are going to be drafting all your key pieces if you're doing it in draft. My second one is fucking Rat Colony. They look so good. You pull 3-4 of them, and you're like, oh, I'm totally going Rat Colony. And then you look at them, and you're like, nope.
No.
Because they have 1 toughness.
Yep, not in Limited. You can't protect them.
You cannot protect them in Limited. They are good, but they are not good in Limited.
Yeah.
If you just need a 2-drop and there's no other pick, yeah, grab them. Fuck yeah, grab them. It's still a 2-drop. It's just not. Do not build that deck. Do not go, I'm building a Rat Colony deck in Limited. It will not work for you. And you could technically do the Tatsuko Umezawa combo with it, but it's so hard to pull off, and you will be upset because you wasted all those draft picks on a shitty deck. And you didn't get any good rares because you're too busy drafting this crap, and then you didn't win any packs because you drafted this crap. So don't do it. My next one is Slimefoot the Stowaway. I thought he was going to be a bomb. I don't even think I played him because I always had a better choice. And while he is his own engine, Limited goes so much faster with so few pieces that his engine is too slow to work off of himself, and I didn't draft or I didn't crack enough Thalids or Saprolings that would actually fuel him.
Yeah, he's definitely not the Lord.
No, and the Lord is solid. Now, if you get a bunch of Thalids / Saproling generators, if you get that stuff, Slimefoot's good. Like, he's good if you have the other pieces, and he's amazing himself outside of Sealed or outside of Limited because he is good. He's a great commander. He's a great Pauper commander. He's just not good as a piece in a sealed environment. In draft, maybe, because again, you can start drafting those Saproling generators, you can draft the Thalids, and those are pieces that your group may not think so much on. Like, they may not go, "Oh, I'm going to draft the Thalid or the Saproling because I've got a Llanowar Elves, and I am playing green, but I'm not playing Saproling, so I'm gonna take the Llanowar Elves." So you might be able to get away with it. Chainer's Torment.
Sucks.
This card's just crap. This card, I'm gonna break it because that's what I do. I find shit cards and I break them.
Every time this card was played against me, I just bounced the token back to their hand.
Oh, that hurts. Oh god, that's so mean.
Yep, with the Academy Mage or blinking an eye. It's just like,
so basically, they literally just shot themselves in the face for nothing.
Nothing.
Oh, this card is so bad. In Commander, I feel like this could be broken.
A 2020 could be breaking.
It can be. If you can protect it, I feel like it can work. In any limited format, you let somebody else get stuck with this card. Just make sure you don't get stuck with it because this card is shit. It is so bad. So Acts 1 and 2 deal 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life.
Yeah,
Act 3 is you shoot yourself in the face for half of your health rounded up, and you put a creature into play that has that much health, or that much power and toughness. So if you're at 20, you take 10 to the face and you make a 10-10. And then somebody goes, cool, my turn, bounce it.
Yep.
Or eviscerate, or fucking anything.
Blessed Light, whatever.
Blessed Light. Literally anything. The fucking dude with Death Touch. I mean, come on. Chainer's Torment is garbage. The next one is a real trap card. It is very similar to Marwyn, and that is Naban, Dean of Iteration. And
good card.
He has the same problem. He's great. He has the same problem that Slimefoot and Marwyn have. Not enough wizards to be able to do anything with him. I cracked about 4 or 5 wizards, and I'm like, oh, this will work.
Nope.
I did not play Naban, and I actually did not play the wizards because I caught myself. We fell into the Marwyn trap, but I did catch myself on Naban. I'm like, I would only get 1 trigger off of these guys because it was the deal X damage for each wizard you control. Cool. That'd be great, but I only have 5 wizards. So the max I can do is 10 damage, and that's if the dream is alive.
Yep.
So I'm like, So he's great. He's combo-licious. Build a deck around him. Do not build it in Limited. You will be very disappointed.
I agree.
And the last one is the one that we discussed earlier, and that is Unwind. And that is because in limited formats, you are going to be more concerned about creatures than you are about a freaking Thran, whatever, Fall of Thran, or Phyrexian scriptures or something like that. Because those things you can technically play around. It's a little bit harder, depending on what colors you're running, to be able to play around a Yargle, the Gorilla King.
Yeah, I really wish they would have given us a non-creature and a creature version.
I think that they should have just reprinted Rewind.
I agree.
I would have been totally fine with that. And that way it would have just been a solid card. I know that they're trying to get away from countering creatures because they want aggro to have a better shot aggro's never really had that bad of a shot. It's aggro.
In the same format that has 12, 14 good, decent counterspells.
Yeah, and aggro still performs just fine. Combo is the one that's dying / is already dead. Maybe focus on that. You know what helps combo decks? Rewind. Rewind helps combo decks.
Oh, I'm gonna break a combo deck. Time Stream Navigators, Helm of the Host.
Ugh, I'm not playing against that deck. You will not. But what was that fucking card in Destiny?
Time Loop.
Yeah,
or Hyper.
You're not gonna do hyperspace jump or whatever on my.
Oh, did I mention that you can put this in a Maldraza Brawl deck? Yeah. Better have some exiles.
Commander, you'll better have Blessed Light. So that's our kind of trap cards to just watch out for when you're playing Draft, when you're playing Sealed of any kind with this new set. This new set is amazing for Sealed and Limited because you have, like RJ was saying, you have enough options. These strategies are loose enough to allow you to do what you want. It allows you to mix and match different things together and build a cohesive strategy with a lot of different pieces. And you don't feel like, shit, I pulled this card and this card and this card and I got stuck with them. So I guess I'm playing elves with Marwyn, even though I have 3 elves to go with her. I feel like shit and this is going to suck and I'm not going to have fun. This set is fun. It is so fun. Fuck all the haters. This is the anniversary set that we dreamed of and we deserved.
And okay. No Tree of Redemption.
No shit. Fuck that damn tree. We should, if they were gonna reprint a goddamn tree, it should have been the black tree that does the where it actually fucks people over and is good.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Ugh. Okay, so
I do have a couple things in the closing.
While I calm myself the fuck down, Crimson, take it away.
First off, I want to talk about is the Dryad. You remember in Time Spiral, there was Future Sight. Future Sight.
Yep.
There was a Dryad. It was a 1/1 Dryad land. So it counted as a land. Had no casting cost. Wasn't a spell because it was a land, but it was a 1/1 creature. Mm-hmm. But the Future Sight look of it was very easy to tell what it was.
Yeah.
When they reprinted it from the vault, they made it look like a forest. So it had the same template as the forest, had the big green mana symbol on it.
Yep.
The art looked like a forest art. You could barely tell there's a Dryad in there.
Yep. The power and toughness box is, I don't want to say it's hidden, but it does blend into the card.
Yep. And it's a foil, so it's hard to see it sometimes. There was a modern GP where somebody lost because this card was on the table. And
they just didn't notice that it was a creature?
Because the guy put it down by their land. So he had no clue. He thought it was just a forest.
Did the player announce?
No, not that we're aware of, but he doesn't have to because it has no casting cost. He just could put it down and that was it because it's not a spell. It doesn't use a stack.
I feel like that's a real weird gray area.
It is.
I feel like if you are playing a card that can be confused with another card, like if you play a card that looks exactly like a forest and there's no distinguishing characteristics that I can see from across the table from you, you should announce Dryad Arbor.
Yeah. So there's talk about whether this card should be banned. And not the card itself, but the From the Vault version. Which would be the first time that they ever banned a card printing versus an actual card. There is other talk that they have talked about. maybe
Mhm.
requiring people to play that card in the creature zone and not the land zone,
Mhm.
so it's very obvious that it's a creature.
I feel like there is a very easy fix for part of it is that I don't think that this card or printing deserves a ban. I believe that it requires a rules clarification. Either one of two things, maybe both. One is to actually determine priority of a card, and that is that if a card type is creature, land, or land creature, this one says land creature, but to determine which one of those takes precedence.
Yeah.
If land takes precedence, then it can be played in your land zone. And this is just for competitive play, regardless. But
Yeah, there's no
this is
land
very
zone in normal play.
yeah, this is very important. Should that card go to the land zone or to the creature zone by default because of its split type?
Yeah.
Also, make it mandatory for the player who is playing Dryad Arbor to announce that they are playing it.
Yep.
And see, I am that way whenever I play, but I'm also a pro player that wants to be sneaky and fuck people over and fuck people in games. This is why I don't play Magic competitively or professionally, because I'm not an asshole. And I am saying that as a blanket statement, fight me. Here's the thing. If I play a card, I say what I'm playing. I'm not the type of player that that plays out my fucking turn and never says a word. If I'm going to play a Dryad Arbor, I go, okay, draw, Dryad Arbor, tap one, Llanowar Elf.
But if you do that on turn 1, by turn 10, you might have forgot about that damn Dryad Arbor.
Exactly, but here's the thing, is if I go Dryad Arbor past you and 10 turns later I fucking kill you with Dryad Arbor because you forgot about it, that is now your fault, not mine. Yeah. That is, I said it was your job to remember it, but it should not be your job to guess what fucking cards are, and it should not be your job to have to read every fucking basic land.
Yep. So, I just wanted to throw it out there, comment on in the, in the post of what you feel. But
what do you think? What do you think, Crimson?
Me, I think it should be mandatory to go to the creature zone.
I think so too.
I just think that's the simplest fix.
It really is. I really think so.
You know what? Now let's talk about dual lands.
Oh god, dual lands.
So, at my pre-release, we had a big discussion on dual lands. And a couple things came up. Okay. How they could reprint them in Type 2. There's one that I really, really would love to see in the core sets. They just reprint them without the land type.
Just comes into play untapped.
Yep. It just doesn't count as a forest or a mountain or a swamp or an island. Technically, it's a different card. Gets past the reserve list and would give us basic staple dualies. But that might be too powerful. Like, I understand. I feel like,
yeah.
Dual lands are pretty powerful. But I would like to see it. I mean, yeah, it's going to make standard a little crazy for, until rotation. But I think it's worth it to get those into modern, get those into, people's hands. They would not be able to be fetched with the fetch lands.
Mm-hmm.
So there is definitely downsides. People will still want the dualies, and the dualies will still be extremely expensive. It will not affect the price of dualies. Another one that's way more restrictive, but I would still be okay with, a legendary version.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be alright with that.
I mean, you could run 2 or 3 in your deck, but unfortunately it's legendary, so you could still do the trick where you have one in play, you tap it for a mana, you play the new one, you sack the tap one. Kind of like how people were talking about the Mox Amber. But you could never you wouldn't want to flood your board with your deck with these, because it would be bad. But it would also be really good for commander players.
And Brawl.
Yeah. I think I think they're more likely to do the legendary one if they decide to make legendaries in core set. I would like to see these.
I would love to see the Shocklands, the Ravnica Dual Lands, be our standard.
I would too. I think those are the perfect standard card, but I think they prefer to only put them in Ravnica sets.
Unfortunately, so I just feel like that is the middle ground. Like, yes, they technically come into play tapped, but you can shock yourself instead.
Yep.
It creates a balance there. It does have the basic land types, so you can search with them or search for them with fetch lands and stuff like that. Farseek, anything that actually references a land type. It's exactly the middle ground between dual lands, old school, Bayou and Scrubland, and the stuff that we have now.
Yep.
I don't know if they will ever do that. I hope so. If not,
I think they should. I think the names on those cards are generic enough, like Godless Shrine, Hallowed Fountain. I think they're generic enough that they don't have to be associated with Ravnica.
Yeah, I don't think that they do either. It's not like, Temple or, Simic Birthing Chamber or whatever. They're generic names.
Yes, they definitely are. So, that's just my personal opinion. I wanted to bring it up, talk about it a little bit, get your guys' opinion, Make sure you comment down below.
Absolutely.
I always wanted to say that. Hit like and comment down below. No.
Yep. Hit the subscribe button and ring the bell.
Ring that bell.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for our episode today.
We had a little bit of a long one, but
yeah,
it's good.
But yeah, it was something we didn't get to talk about before. It's new territory for everybody.
And I promise the next episode will not be so heavily magic focused.
Yes, we are going to be playing some new stuff. We're going to be revisiting some old stuff. Hopefully some Division this week.
Divinity would be nice too.
Yes, I think we should start that this weekend. I really do.
I agree.
So we will be bringing you guys some more content, and this is not just an empty promise like I usually give, where I'm like, videos, and then we haven't made any videos. I haven't made.
I've been streaming mainly.
Thank you for keeping the mantle alive. But as always, thank you all for listening, and you can check out our previous episodes at mediocregamers.com, as well as on iTunes and Google Play. Keep up to date with us on Facebook and Twitter at 2mediocregamers, and I have a fucking leg cramp, and that hurts so bad, and it's so hard to keep reading. Oh God. Chat with us on Discord. Links will be posted in the description down below. And get out there and play some games and make sure to stretch, damn it!
And be as professional as possible.
No!